September 23rd, 2012. It was about 3:30 as my phone started vibrating in my pocket, the alarm for work. I was at my uncle's 52nd birthday party and the cake was just being served. Chocolate ice cream cake, my favorite. Unfortunately, it was also a half hour before I was to clock in and start my 8-hour shift. As much as I didn't want to, I promptly donned my Jimmy John's uniform and raced to the car. My cousin had just bought a new Stratus and was eager to show it off to me, so he decided he would take me to work. Everyone was apprehensive about Stephen taking me, but after all, it was only a 15-minute drive, and he would call the moment that he had finished dropping me off. After careful consideration, my aunt had agreed to let Stephen drive me to Jimmy John's. Less than 10 minutes down the road, the ambulance came rushing to the site. At the intersection of Green Bay Road and 18th, my life had changed forever. The last thing that I saw before feeling the glass penetrate my eyes was the Ram 2500. It was a yellow light that both Stephen and the other cars were determined to make. I watched as the car drove into my face. 1 minute we were singing and I was listening to Stephen laughing, and the next I couldn't hear anything. I was told later that it was a nurse who had pulled over to help apply pressure to my eyes to stop the bleeding while the ambulance made its way to the scene. Stephen talks about the harsh screeching sound that the ambulance made while they strapped us to the gurneys, but the last noise that I recall is the deafening sound of metal grinding together and glass shattering. My cousin and I were urgently rushed to the emergency room, and they didn't think we would survive. It was after we were there and the doctors and plastic surgeon had the chance to assess the damages that they realized I had lost sight in my right eye and hearing in my right ear. The priest was called into the emergency room to pray for my family and I. He had also been the one who had to discuss the options for funeral arrangements. After several hours, countless stitches and staples, numerous pressure shots, and multitudes of tests and assessments, Stephen and I were released. Recovery was a long and painful process. By the end, we had every possible route to the Children's Hospital memorized. Because of this monumental day, my plans for high school had changed, my plans for college were altered, and my outlook on life completely transformed. This was during the junior year of my high school career, the time of my life, and here I was, spending it putting fish oil on the gashes on my face, praying that the scars wouldn't leave me as hideous and repulsive as I felt rubbing it into my skin. Previous to this accident, I had a perfect school record. I made all the right choices. I took extra credits, made all good grades. I was in programs that gave me leadership skills, and I traded all of my releases with classes so that I could graduate at the end of my junior year. I had early graduation on my mind since 8th grade, and I made the blueprint for this the summer before high school, and I adhered to this plan all throughout senior high. I had all of my classes for the entire year outlined in a way that would allow for me to graduate early, but it was vital for me not to stray and to obtain every credit in each class. Because of this car accident, I was dropped from several classes, and it was clear that I wasn't graduating early. Most of the classes that I was enrolled in were accelerated, and because I couldn't attend so many of the classes, they had no option but to drop me. I went on to finish my junior year, and then my senior year the following fall, and it was completely out of my control. One of the classes that I was dropped from was a college course, nursing assisting. I aspired to be a nurse all throughout my life, as well as during high school. Dealing with such a tragedy made me reconsider that choice. It made me reflect on the way the nurses must have felt seeing my family and I so broken at that changing moment in our lives. Although our family was fortunate and both of us remain alive, so many other families and people don't. This really put it in perspective for me and helped me to validate my decision to switch directions for my future life goals. I re-enrolled in this course my senior year to try it out, and after graduating a semester early, I began working as a CNA. After working and encountering other people and their afflictions, it helped to reinstate the fact that I cannot be around so much pain and grief every day for the rest of my life. With unnumbered reasons to be bitter and frustrated, I had to make twice the effort not to be resentful. This car accident, which was completely out of my hands, had changed my entire life. I have plenty of examples of how it had changed my life for the worst. My hearing and sight complications, the way that people interacted with me, all of the scars and the pain and the suffering that I had no choice but to endure, all my all of my plans for high school and college being deviated, etc. My outlook on life was warped, and I didn't see many reasons to be in good spirit or to aspire toward anything. My plans on life were turned upside down. What I wasn't considering while I was so absorbed in all of my problems were the people who were less fortunate than me. One thing that this accident allowed me to do was to assist others. Instead of feeling sorry for myself and focusing on all of my troubles, I engaged more in FBLA, Future Business Leaders of America. I decided that my ambitious event for senior year would be community service, hoping that it would divert me away from my own world of self-loathing. I partnered with several schools, banks, grocery stores, locally owned stores, and newspapers around Kenosha to collect toiletry and Christmas cards for our servicemen and women. I gathered over 700 items and 500 cards in less than 3 months. This event won first place at regionals and fourth place at state. And this accomplishment helped me to realize how awesome of an opportunity I had received and how much is possible with determination. When people stumble into circumstances of tragedies, disasters, and hardships, they are being presented with more than what it seems. They are getting an opportunity to revamp their lives and re-examine their decisions thus far and the path that they will follow in the future. They are bestowed a chance to change the world and to be an example of how to overcome obstacles in life that sometimes we have no jurisdiction over. Despite the fact that my plans to graduate early and become a nurse had changed, I obtained a considerable amount more out of my life than I would have had this never happened. Sometimes bad things happen to good people, and it is how they choose to conquer what life hands them that determines what kind of person they are and how they are going to impact the world.